Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Dr. Collins. I wanted to take a minute to come and talk to you. There are some things going on in the world that will certainly be affecting some of the decisions we make. And so I believe it's a good idea for you to be tuned in and know exactly what these things are. The first thing I want to talk about, this is not, by the way, our pre-recorded Zoom meeting. This is just information I think you want to hear. And not financial advice, of course. You got to take this information and think about it and look into it for yourselves. But let me tell you what my eyes see. So as we look at our country, we see the CBDC is being rolled out. And that's already happening, whether you know it or not. And quantum banking is being introduced, and that's really the rollout of the United States digital coin. And some say the goal is for the country to be completely digital within a year or two. Now, what does that mean for us? See, when we trade with indicators. We're looking for certain technical things. So I'm looking at a relative strength index. I'm looking at Bollinger Bands, moving averages, candles. And those are the things that drive the decisions. But what drives the technical indicators? That would be the backdrop of world events. So these world events, a lot of Americans don't, right now, so a digital coin is a world event. It's a world happening in this country. A lot of Americans don't trust the government. So with the whether it's valid or not, some do, some don't. So with this distrust, I think people will be looking for a hedge against the digital coin. And I think that hedge right now is most likely Bitcoin. And so I would say Bitcoin for 4 to 6 months is probably a great move. And I'm going to dive into it. I think you should dive in with me. And when I say dive in, I'm not saying let's dive in with 50 grand a piece. I'm saying maybe we get a Bitcoin pool, put $1,000 in it a person or something, and we go long. If we go long and Bitcoin actually climbs up to 60, 65, it would be an incredible short run for us. If it climbs up to 100, it would be beyond incredible. And I think that's a great decision. 4 to 6 months, take profit out the door. Because down the road, I think there may be better coins. But for now, I think Bitcoin's the move. Over the course of the past 3 months, it went up 62%, maybe in preparation for the CBDC. So we just want to make sure we're ahead of the curve on that one. So that's my first note for you. We should be thinking Bitcoin. Okay. Second point is there's something out there in the world. It's called the BRICS nations. It stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. But then you have all these other important players knocking on the door to join, like Argentina, Costa Rica, Cuba, Iraq, Iran, Nigeria, and now Saudi Arabia has put their application in. The BRICS nations is trying to create a different world reserve currency that they can trade and do business in. They're trying to move away from the dollar. If they're successful, and it's already happening, that would weaken the dollar because the dollar would lose its world dominance as the world reserve currency. So if that happens and when that happens, what does that mean for us? Well, let's say they pull it off and they're making a good run at it. Now you will have roughly maybe 60 to 70% of the world population inside of this coalition, all using a different currency for trades. That would clearly do considerable damage to the strength of the dollar and the world dominance of the dollar. With that damage, I believe the bond market would be the first thing under attack. You already see the bond market under attack with some of the bank collapsing, and they have a run on the bank and they're forced to sell their bonds, and they have to take them at half of their value, and they just run out of money because of that. But the bond market, which is bigger than the stock market, will have a serious problem. The stock market would have a problem. The housing market would have a problem, and ultimately the strength of the dollar will have a serious problem. What does that mean for us? What do we do? Where do we go? So right now in all of our positions, Forex, US 30, doesn't matter. Even if the market's bouncing up, and it has bounced up in the past couple days, I am still going short as far as our overall position because I think the dollar has some considerable challenges right now. If the Feds raise the interest rates, that's going to drive the market, I believe, down. If the Feds do nothing, it may be like people are like, are they afraid to make a decision? That's going to drive the market down. So for right now, the market it went up for the past day or so. I am holding on to short positions there. So I just want you to know that as well. Lastly, there's something called the petrodollar. U.S. makes a deal with Saudi Arabia that all business of buying oil needs to be in dollars, okay? All business. And that's what strengthens the dollar, because the dollar is not backed by gold, but the whole world has to buy their oil in dollars. So it gives the American money strength. Now, Saudi Arabia is knocking on the door of the BRICS nations, and they've applied, which means they will be doing business with China and Russia, and all these places hate America, and they all are going into it. They're talking about not the petrodollar. We're not buying oil in dollars. We're petro yuan. We're going to buy it in Chinese money. Now, if that happens, like I said previously, that would be problematic. But Saudi Arabia now, so Saudi Arabia is moving closer to China, because now they're talking about buying oil can be bought in the yuan. And Saudi Arabia has reduced oil production, which is something the U.S. did not want them to do, which drove the price of oil up. And now it's probably going to drive the interest rates here up. And it's going to drive the cost of gas up and all of those things. But because Saudi Arabia is now playing with and flirting with China and applying to be in the BRICS nations, this could be something considerable. Yet another attack on the dollar, which makes my mind say we need to be going short in the market, because the long position probably isn't the best position right now. Now again, this isn't advice. This is just what my eyes see. Let me know what you think. And if you're interested in diving into that Bitcoin with me, I think we have very little to lose, but we have a ton that we can gain. All right, thanks. I'll talk to you soon.